Her legs feel like they no longer belong to her, each step dragging as though the weight of the world clings to her bones. Hunger sharpens every movement, gnawing at her insides with a steady ache that has not let her rest for 2 endless days. Her hands shake as she pushes aside scraps, her breath quick and shallow, until her fingers close around something small, an abandoned piece of bread, hard and rough, but real. She stares at it as though it might vanish, clutching it tightly, her heart pounding at the thought that she has found enough to quiet the emptiness for just a little while. For anyone else it would be nothing, but for her, in this moment, it is treasure. It is life. It is the only thing keeping her from collapsing under the weight of despair. Her lips part as she raises the bread closer, desperate to quiet the burning ache inside her. Then her eyes catch a figure, an old man, frail, his hands trembling as if even the air is too heavy for him. His face is hollow, his gaze fixed on the scrap she holds. She freezes, torn between her own hunger and the suffering etched across his body. Her chest tightens, her hands quiver, but slowly she reaches forward, pressing the bread into his palm. Her voice cracks, almost a whisper, "Sometimes when you have nothing left, kindness is the only thing you can still give." The man stares at the gift, his lips trembling, and then his shoulders break under the weight of gratitude. Tears spill as he clutches the bread as though it were gold. His sobs shake the silence, raw and unhidden. From across the street, unseen by Julie, eyes are locked on the moment. Behind the tinted glass of a black SUV, Daniel Carter watches, his little girl leaning against him. Something long buried twists inside him, something he thought he had forgotten. She thought no one was watching, but someone powerful had just seen everything. Julie notices the man shivering, his thin arms pulled close to his chest. Without thinking, she slips off her torn coat and drapes it across his shoulders. It leaves her bare, the cold instantly biting her skin, but she doesn't flinch. She lowers herself beside him on the broken bench, close enough for him to feel less alone. Her voice softens as she tells him of nights spent beside her mother's hospital bed, the silence that followed when cancer stole her away, and how she dropped out of art school because grief left her unable to hold a pencil steady. The words spill gently, not as complaints, but as truths that weigh too heavy to carry alone. With a faint smile, she pulls out a small scrap of paper and begins to sketch him, each line steady, tender, lifting his image into dignity he no longer feels. She presses the portrait into his hands and says, "We can still draw beauty even from the darkest corners." That night, Daniel lies awake, the quiet of his mansion offering no peace. The image of her sacrifice will not leave him, the coat, the bread, the way her eyes shone even through emptiness. It clashes with the memories that still poison him, a woman's betrayal, the moment he swore compassion was weakness, the vow that he would never be fooled again. Yet nothing about what he saw fits that belief. Julie's act was raw, uncalculated, and for the first time in years, his certainty wavers. It unsettles him in a way he cannot explain. The questions gnaw at him until he can't resist. Daniel orders an investigator to uncover who this young woman truly is. The report comes back quickly, pages filled not with schemes or hidden tricks, but a life marked by loss. Her mother's death, the dreams she abandoned, the struggles that dragged her to the edge of survival. Every line confirms what his heart already knew but his mind refused to accept: there is no fraud, no manipulation, only pain endured with quiet strength. Then the photograph lands in his hands, a college portrait of Julie. She is smiling, radiant, alive in a way she no longer appears. He studies the image, the contrast almost unbearable. Daniel had every reason not to trust, but her past held a truth he couldn't ignore. The next evening, his daughter comes running, clutching a crumpled page of her sketchbook. "Look, Daddy," she says, holding it high. A simple crayon drawing, Julie handing bread to Walter. Above it, uneven letters wobble across the top, "The Bread Angel." Daniel's chest tightens as he stares at it. He feels something burn behind his eyes, a sting he has refused for years. For the first time in so long, tears threaten to fall. The days pass, and Julie finds herself at a homeless shelter, an unexpected chance to serve others when she has so little herself. The position came quietly, arranged by an anonymous donor she will never know is Daniel. She moves among the lines of weary faces with a calm dignity, ladling soup, touching each hand with kindness, her eyes never avoiding the brokenness in front of her. Every person matters, every gesture is real. From across the street, high behind glass, Daniel stands at his office window, watching her without being seen. He tells himself it is only curiosity, but in truth he is searching for something he has lost, perhaps redemption, perhaps himself. One evening, the fragile order inside the shelter shatters. A desperate man pushes forward, hunger driving him wild, lunging toward the food. Gasps fill the room. Without a thought for her own safety, Julie steps in front of an elderly woman, raising her arms as a shield. The man shoves her hard, sending her backward, but she does not fall. Strong hands catch her, steady her. She turns, stunned, and her eyes lock on Daniel. Before words can form, a small voice pierces the chaos. Little Kelly darts forward, wrapping herself around Julie's waist and holding tight, her face pressed against her. "Bread angel," she cries with a trembling smile. A shove, a rescue, and a reunion, was this fate bringing them together again? Daniel approaches her carefully, no longer able to remain a shadow on the sidelines. He offers her something unexpected, a studio within his company, walls bathed in light, a space where she could paint murals for the community. He tells her she deserves more than scraps of survival. But Julie shakes her head gently, her voice calm, steady. She does not want money, she does not want favors. All she asks for is a room with sunlight, a place with warmth and quiet where her hands can create again. Her refusal to be bought, her insistence on dignity even in need, unsettles him more than he can admit. Days later, Kelly tugs at Julie's sleeve, asking for a drawing. Julie smiles and sketches quickly, a little girl offering bread to an old man. Kelly beams and runs to show her father. The moment Daniel's eyes fall on the page, something inside him stops. The memory is sharp, undeniable. Years ago, when he was no one, hungry, lost, nearly broken, a young artist had shared half a sandwich with him and pressed a napkin into his hand. On that napkin was a sunflower. His breath catches as he pulls it from his wallet, faded and creased but still whole. He looks at Julie, his voice low with disbelief. It was her. He slides the napkin across the table with hands that tremble just enough to be human. Julie's fingers close around the faded square as if it is a living thing. She looks up, voice barely a breath, "You kept it." Daniel's throat tightens. He leans forward, meeting her eyes, and the words come out simple, true, heavy with years of silence. "You gave me hope when I had none." For a long heartbeat they hold that space, two lives folded into the same small memory at different times. The revelation lands not like a thunderclap but like a steady, impossible settling. The past that had hovered between them snaps into place. The girl who once offered bread has become the woman before him, and the man she once touched has kept a tiny piece of that kindness as proof that someone saw him. Two lives, unknowingly intertwined for years, finally connect. The stranger who saved him once had returned, but could he open his heart this time? Late that night, words come out that he has kept locked away. Daniel speaks in a voice worn thin by restraint, the truth about his wife, how she died, how sudden and how final, how the loss wrecked him in ways he still can't name. He does not look for sympathy. He does not ask for absolution. He says it because the weight needs a place to land, because her name has nowhere else to go. Julie listens without judgment, her hand finding his and resting there as if to anchor two drifting things together. It is not a promise, not a pledge, only a quiet, human touch that says, "I am here." A small rustle at the door, then Kelly, eyes heavy from a bad dream. She slips in, voice small and blunt with a child's earnestness. "I wish you were my mommy." The words hang between them, fragile and piercing. Julie does not pull away. She draws the little girl into her lap, cradling her as if she belongs there as much as anyone. Daniel watches, fingers brushing Julie's hand now without thought, no hesitation, only reach. In that soft circle, something fragile begins to mend, a shared silence, a shared breath, a possibility that did not exist yesterday. Julie gathers Kelly close, her arms wrapping around the little girl with a tenderness that feels less like comfort and more like belonging. Kelly settles into her as though she had always been there, as though the space was always meant for her. Daniel watches, his chest tightening with a feeling he had long trained himself to bury. This time he does not think, does not hesitate, his hand reaches for Julie's, fingers closing firmly over hers. She doesn't pull away. Kelly blinks up at them with drowsy eyes and a soft, sleepy smile. "We could be a family," she whispers, the words simple yet heavy, a truth spoken aloud before either adult dared admit it to themselves. Weeks later, Julie stands in a room she once thought she would never see again, her first art exhibit. The walls are lined with faces that society overlooked, the tired, the forgotten, the invisible, now seen in full dignity through her eyes. Among them, Walter stands proud, his portrait alive with strength that cannot be erased. Visitors move slowly through the gallery, some moved to tears, their hearts caught by the weight of what she has captured. A journalist approaches, asks her for her story, and she answers with quiet honesty. The article spreads faster than she expects, carrying her truth into the world under a headline that frames it perfectly, "From Homelessness to Hope." Her art touched the world, but what it awakened in Daniel was even deeper. The room glows with the soft warmth of Christmas lights, though the tree they gather around is small and uneven, its branches sparse. Daniel lifts Kelly so she can hang her paper stars, her laughter filling the silence. Julie steps forward with something of her own, a simple ornament cut from paper in the shape of a piece of bread. She ties it carefully at the center of the tree, her eyes soft, her voice unspoken but clear. This was where their story began. Kelly hurries back with her crayons, her little hand scribbling on a sheet she proudly tapes beside the tree. 3 figures holding hands, bright colors filling the space, with the caption written in crooked letters, "Now we are a family." Daniel draws Julie closer, his arm wrapping around her as though he has finally allowed himself to rest. Julie leans into him, Kelly pushing her way between them, laughing as the embrace folds her in two. They hold one another tightly, no longer broken fragments wandering alone, but something whole, woven together through kindness, healed by love. And as the moment lingers, a quiet voice carries the truth through their silence, sometimes a piece of bread is enough to begin a miracle. She thought she was saving a starving stranger, but in truth, she had saved the man who would one day bring her home.